Tarunji, we are live now. So, hello friends, how are you? Hope all of you are doing well. And it's been long time we were not conducted any webinar. And अभी तरुण जी से बात करी थी. So we have got his time and he's ready to deliver on the topic of GST. So today we will have our session on the GST, which is on the QRMP scheme and other latest amendments in GST. जीएसटी पे जैसा कि आपको पता है कि काफ़ी सारी अमेंडमेंट्स आई है रिसेंटली एंड हम ही चाहते हैं कि सारी की सारी अमेंडमेंट्स वी शुड कवर इन आवर दिस सेशन. क्यूआरएमपी स्कीम पे काफ़ी इम्पोर्टेंट है बिकॉज गवर्नमेंट ने बोल दिया कि पेमेंट आप मंथली करो, रिटर्न्स क्वार्टरली फाइल करो. सो जैसा कि सर्विस टैक्स में होता था कि पेमेंट मंथली करते थे और रिटर्न आप हाफ ईयरली फाइल करते थे, वैट में भी ऐसा होता था. सो सेम चीज़ गवर्नमेंट कह रही है कि अब आप जीएसटी में भी वो चीज़ इम्प्लीमेंट कीजिए. So उसके लिए we have our expert speaker CA TARUN ARORA ji with us, who will enlighten us from his experience on this topic, and he will clear our doubts on this topic as well. Tarun Arora ji is a fellow member of ICI and he is a commerce graduate from Delhi University. He is a student of GST and researching on the subject since 2015. I will not say he is a student, he is expert in GST and he has done several sessions, several webinars on GST. He's a regular speaker at various forums such as and has conducted certified courses on GST as well by ICI. CP seminars also he has conducted for various branches of ICI, study circles, association to discuss various aspects of the GST. And he consults organizations on latest and tricky aspects of GST and regularly represents clients before the revenue departments at various levels. Although his profile is I've given very small introduction of his profile, but Tarunji has earlier taken many sessions along with us and he's having vast knowledge of GST. So today I will invite Tarunji to enlighten us and explain us the process of QRMP scheme and other latest amendments in GST. So now I will not take much time, but one more information I would like to give to all of you is that from tomorrow we are starting 6 days certification course in the Tally. So there are many participants who wanted to start the course on Tally. So therefore we are starting this course once again. So those who want to join, you can join it. Information of the same has been given in the description of this video. Now over to you, Tarunji.
Thank you, Deepak ji. Good evening, everyone. Deepak ji said that I'm an expert and not a student. So here I would like to demark one thing, that as on date, nobody is an expert of a subject. When we see that every day the provision which we read, we don't even know whether it will live for 6 days, 7 days, a month, or a week. Every now and then we have so many changes. So only a student can learn these these many changes. An expert will sit कि मेरे को तो सब आता है. So I think nobody is an expert in GST. Everyone is at the same level. Those who are studying regularly are having an upper hand. That's it. Nothing more than that. And now starting on with the today's session, I have divided my entire presentation in two parts. One is the QRMP scheme, and then we have some 7 or 8 amendments which may be which would be giving impact to your day-to-day work. So starting with QRMP scheme, just give me a second to share my screen. At the outset, I would like to say that this is the first time, mark my word, this is the first time that we are moving towards ease of doing business under GST. First time I have myself felt that yes, QRMP will actually be a good scheme. It will actually reduce the pressure, the compliance burden of small taxpayers. Earlier, we were required to. The original concept was GSTR1 plus GSTR2 plus GSTR3. Again, so many forms, so many interlinkages. मेरे 1 से सामने वाले का 2A बनेगा. उसके basis पे I will create my GSTR2. Then my GSTR3 will get auto-populated. So it was a very interlinked form. So they said, no, GSTR 1, 2, 3 cannot work. So we will keep them on hold. So we will start with GSTR 1 and 3B. But again, जिन्होंने ये सोचा था, those who conceived this idea, they wanted GSTR 1, 2, 3. So they came back with a new form, new return form, that is GST-RET01 plus ANX1 and ANX2. Just renamed the form. They renamed the original GSTR1 as ANX1, GSTR2 as ANX2, and GSTR3 as RET01. And they assume that all professionals are fool. They will not understand that GSTR1, 2, and 3 have been renamed as GSTR-RET01, ANX1, and ANX2. But even after that, they realized that since the form has not changed, the basic problem will still remain as it was on the day when the GST was implemented. So now, as of now, the GST Council has decided we are not getting into these complicated forms. We will move ahead with GSTR 1 and 3B only. We will move ahead with GSTR 1 and 3B only. And while moving toward these forms, we will try to make the return, that is GSTR-3B, as automated, as auto-generated as possible. So जितना डाटा उसके अंदर हम ऑटो जनरेट करके ला सकते हैं, we will try to create an automated GSTR-3B. But we will not increase, we will not burden the taxpayers to do so many complex things or so many matching before filing of the return. So QRMP is the first step towards that. Now starting on with QRMP scheme, we must understand there are only three provisions in the Act: 37, 38, and 39. Section 37, 38, and 39. Section 37 deals with my outward supplies, that is GSTR1. Section 38 deals with GSTR2, GSTR2A, GSTR2B. We will be discussing 2B also at the end, after completing QRMP scheme. So GSTR2, 2A, and 2B. Again, all related to my inward supply. And lastly, section 39, that is my return. Earlier it was GSTR3 and now it is GSTR3B. So whenever I have any query, I have any issues, I should remember that section 37, 38, 39 read with the corresponding rule, that is 59, 60, and 61 to 67. These are the areas where I have to approach, where I have to refer to understand the basic concept of these. So the QRMP scheme is also lined up, is also contained within these provisions only. QRMP के लिए कोई special provision या special sections have not been enacted. They have been incorporated in these existing sections and rules itself. Now, starting with an overview of the scheme. I am not going into the integrities. We will go into the integrities simultaneously. But as of now, the current objective of this slide is to get an overview of the entire scheme. So it will be applicable with effect from 1st of January 2021. That is fourth quarter of 2021. This scheme will be effective from 1st of January. That means from the fourth quarter. It is quarterly return, monthly payment. The full form of QRMP is quarterly return and monthly payment. And we all understand that in GST, quarters mean April to June, July to September, October to December, January to March. So we cannot alter the quarters. Quarters have been defined in the Act to mean April to June, July to September, October to December, and January to March. So this QRMP scheme will be effective from 1st of January 2021. In simple word, it means that from fourth quarter of 2021, QRMP scheme will be applicable. Now let us understand the basic overview of the scheme. So the government has identified selected suppliers. So this scheme is not applicable to all the registered person, all the taxable person. This scheme is applicable to some selected suppliers. And those selected suppliers have been given an option. These suppliers have been given an option to pay taxes through a simple challan, not a challan that was envisaged earlier, just in which it was requiring what is your output tax, what is your input tax, how much tax you are paying. So it is normal challan. And then you will file your quarterly GSTR1 and quarterly GSTR-3B. So a selected category of supplier will now pay taxes on monthly basis and file their GSTR1 and GSTR-3B on quarterly basis. And the tax, the monthly tax that has to be filed should be paid by 25th of the next month. Should be paid by 25th of the next month. So for example, January 21, that is the first month. So we should pay our taxes for January by 25th of February. There are two mechanisms in that, we will be discussing it. And GSTR 1 and 3B, now they have reduced the due date of GSTR 1. In the current regime, a small taxpayer was required to file his GSTR 1 on a quarterly basis, but his due date was by the end of the month succeeding the quarter. So quarter खत्म होता था, उसके बाद जो month आ रहा था उसकी cut off date तक. So for example, April to June it was 31st July. July to September it was 31st October. Now this due date has been preponed. This due date has been preponed from 30th to 13th day. So now for January to March, I will be required to file my GSTR1 latest by 13th of April. And in case I do not file it by 13th of April, I will be required to pay a late fee. Plus, the due date of GSTR-3B are technically unchanged. They will remain 22nd and 24th. So if my turnover is below 5 crore rupees, if I am eligible for this QRMP scheme, I will be required to file my return by 22nd if I am in the southern part of India, and by 24th if I am in the northern part of India. So this northern and southern is only to divide the due dates. Otherwise, they have specifically mentioned which state, for which state what is the due date. But if we broadly see, it is divided. India is divided in two parts. North India, it is 24th. South India, it is 22nd. So now we are starting with three aspects. Who is that supplier? What is the payment mechanism and what is the return mechanism? Starting on with the aspect of supplier. Which supplier is eligible for QRMP scheme? So the provision says that this scheme will be applicable to a registered person whose aggregate turnover in the preceding financial year. Generally or very rarely we find a word preceding in the GST Act. Generally they write aggregate turnover, that's it, matter closed. But this is one of the places where they have categorically said aggregate turnover in the preceding financial year is up to 5 crore rupees. So if I am standing in 2021, my previous year should be less than 5 crore rupees, only then I am eligible for scheme. So my previous year turnover should be less than 5 crore rupees. Once it is less than 5 crore rupees, I will be eligible for QRMP scheme. What does aggregate turnover mean? Aggregate turnover means all India turnover. All India turnover. So if I have 5 GSTNs, so clubbing the turnovers of all the 5 GSTN, plus in case there are transactions between one GSTN with another GSTN, even those will be clubbed. So pan-India turnover, or in simple words, the GST turnover reported for all the GSTNs taken together, if it is up to 5 crore rupees, you are eligible for QRMP scheme. Now there is a confusion, or I have received many queries in relation to this extract from the circular that was issued simultaneously on 10th of November. I am reading this para 4.7 verbatim, so I will be reading it verbatim. It says that it is further clarified that the option to avail the QRMP scheme is GSTN wise. It says that option to avail QRMP is GSTN wise, and therefore distinct person as defined in section 25 of the CGST Act, different GSTNs on same PAN have the option to avail the QRMP scheme for one or more GSTNs. In other words, some GSTNs for the PAN can opt for the QRMP scheme and remaining GSTNs may not opt for the scheme. For example, I have five GSTs. I have five GSTs. Now this paragraph says that in these five GSTs, I have the option that I can go for QRMP for say 3 of the GSTN, and for the balance 2, I do not opt for QRMP scheme and I remain in the normal scheme. So the issue that I received many queries was whether in these circumstances, what will be the aggregate turnover? What will be the criteria? Whether I have to look at the GSTN turnover or not? I said no. You have to read this para 4.7 in conjunction with the notification or the provision. The provision says that this scheme is applicable to you only if your turnover was less than 5 crore rupees. So I have 5 GSTNs. I calculated my aggregate turnover and assuming it was 3 crore rupees. So my PAN is now eligible for QRMP scheme. Now that PAN is eligible for QRMP scheme. Now I have the option that whether I wish to avail QRMP for all the 5 GSTNs or only for the selected one. But what is precondition or what is of the primary importance is that whether that PAN is eligible for QRMP scheme or not. Once the PAN is eligible, then you have a discretion whether I should avail QRMP for all or should I avail it for limited branches or limited GSTN. So it is not applicable. This turnover, first you have to check whether the PAN is eligible for QRMP. If yes, then you can have a discretion whether you want all GSTNs to be under quarterly return or you want some of them in quarterly and some of them in monthly. Again, the question arises, sir, why will we want why will want to remain in the normal scheme? There can be many reasons behind it. When we will proceed further at the time of IFF, I will discuss the same, that why some of the GSTNs would want that they should remain in the normal scheme. So just coming to the conclusion, so if my aggregate turnover in the preceding financial year is less than 5 crore rupees, I will be eligible for QRMP. Now understanding it with the help of some illustrations. Assuming my previous year, that is financial year 1920, my turnover was 3 crore rupees. From April to November, my turnover is 2 crore rupees. So whether I will be eligible for QRMP scheme, my previous year turnover less than 5 crore rupees. So you are eligible for QRMP scheme. So this taxpayer can opt for QRMP scheme. How he has to opt, we will discuss that also. Second illustration. My previous year turnover is less than 3 crore rupees. My previous year turnover is less than 3 crore rupees. Am I eligible for QRMP scheme in the current year? When we read the original provision, it says that turnover in the preceding financial year, it is less than 3 crore, it is less than 5 crore rupees. So I am eligible. But there is a provision which says that in the notification itself, they have categorically written that first you have to check the preceding financial year. If it is less than 5 crore rupees, then you can opt. Plus, if in the current financial year, if in the year of in the year in which we are deciding whether QRMP is applicable or not, if we have crossed the mark of 5 crore rupees, then from the quarter from which I have exceeded that 5 crore limit, I will not be eligible for QRMP scheme. To understand it, let us take this example. My turnover in the preceding financial year was 3 crore rupees. So for 2021, that is fourth quarter, am I eligible? Yes, I am eligible. For 2021, पहले हम बात कर रहे हैं 2021 financial year 2021 के लिए what we have to see the turnover for 1920. It was 3 crore rupees, less than 5 crore rupees. I am eligible for QRMP for the fourth quarter of 2021, जिस दिन से ये QRMP scheme आ रही है. That is from 1st of January, I am eligible for QRMP scheme. But next year April month के अंदर ही my turnover crossed the 5 crore barrier. Now the provision says that For the first quarter, you are eligible. Oh, sorry, for the fourth quarter of 2021, you are eligible. And since your turnover for financial year 1920 and 2021, your turnover for financial year 2021 is also less than 5 crore. It is 3 crores only. You were eligible for QRMP scheme for the beginning of 21. You were eligible for 2021, 21, 22, but you have elapsed the turnover in the very first month itself. So for the first quarter, QRMP will be available. From the second quarter of 2021-22, you will not be able to opt for the QRMP scheme. I am trying to simplify it again. So once, to check whether I am eligible for QRMP scheme or not, I will see my previous year turnover. Less than 5 crore rupees, I am eligible for QRMP scheme. So now I opted for QRMP scheme. After opting for QRMP scheme, if my turnover exceeds 5 crore rupees, in any of the months, then the provision says that the quarter in which, it is not the month, it is the quarter in which you have exceeded 5 crore rupees, till that quarter QRMP will be available. So in the quarter in which I have crossed the 5 crore barriers, QRMP will be available. And from the succeeding quarter, you will have to withdraw from QRMP and come back to the normal scheme. So for that particular quarter, QRMP scheme will be applicable. So in this case, since my turnover exceeded in April to June quarter, for the entire quarter, April to June, QRMP will be applicable. And with effect from July 2021, QRMP scheme will not be applicable. Another illustration. My previous year, 1920 turnover is 7 crore rupees. 1920 turnover is 7 crore rupees. Whether I will be eligible for QRMP scheme in 2021? No, because my preceding financial year is more than 5 crore rupees. So for the fourth quarter, I will not be eligible for QRMP scheme. That is, from the very inception, I will not be available for QRMP. But if my turnover for 2021, for option for 2021-22, whether I will be eligible for QRMP or not. क्या 2021-22 के लिए I am eligible? So what is the preceding financial year? 2021. Is the turnover less than 5 crore rupees? Yes, it is 2 crore rupees. So for the financial year 2021-22, I will be eligible for QRMP scheme. So in simple words, we have to first see the preceding financial year. If it is less than 5 crore rupees, I can opt for QRMP. Once opted, if my turnover exceeds 5 crore rupees, then in the quarter in which it has exceeded, I will be the part of QRMP scheme. And from the succeeding quarter, I will have to opt out of this scheme and go back to the normal scheme. And what is the normal scheme? Filing GSTR-1 and 3B on monthly basis. GSTR-1 due date will be 11th, GSTR-3B due date will be 20th. So as of now, we have discussed only one concept, that is which supplier is eligible to opt the scheme. And it is simple, 5 crore aggregate turnover in the preceding financial year. Now, how to opt for this scheme? This scheme is applicable from 1st of January. So when and how to opt for this scheme? The government has given a relaxation. Or I should say they have done some homework, and they have said that we will systematically move all the taxpayers to QRMP scheme, those who feel are eligible. So if a taxpayer who is filing quarterly GSTR-1, the government said we will move him to QRMP scheme. If your aggregate turnover is less than 5 crore rupees in GSTR-3B, we will move you to QRMP scheme. So in all these cases, there will be an automatic department, or the software will move you to QRMP scheme. And now if you wish to remain in that QRMP scheme, you don't have to do anything. In case there was no automatic movement of your client from from normal to QRMP scheme, then from 5th of December to 31st January you can move to that point. यानी 5th December से 31st January के अंदर you can opt this scheme. You can opt for QRMP scheme starting from 5th of December to 31st of January 2021. The tab is already visible on the GST website. The tab is already visible, but that tab has not yet started working. The comment is that it will start working from 5th of December only. So the tab is visible, but it is still not working. So what we have to see that whichever client or whichever GSTN we feel should go for QRMP scheme, then we have to ensure that by 31st of January 2021 we have opted for this scheme if it is not automatically shifted to that scheme. Then this is for the first period of QRMP scheme. Fourth quarter will be the first period. And what will be the mechanism to opt for QRMP scheme thereafter? अभी तो first time मैं QRMP scheme में चला गया, matter close. But my previous year 19-20 turnover was 5 crore rupees. So I was not eligible for QRMP scheme. But in current year my turnover is less than 5 crore rupees. I am eligible for QRMP scheme in 2021-22. So the provision says that I'm not going into the verbatim detail. I am going through a practical illustration. So assuming this is the financial year 2021-22, 2021-22 के months हैं, I have to choose an option for quarter 2. From quarter 2, I want to move to QRMP scheme. So what is the first precondition? My 2020-21 20-21 की turnover should be less than 5 crore. It is less than 5 crore rupees. And now I have to opt for QRMP scheme starting from July quarter. July to September quarter के लिए I have to opt for QRMP scheme. So the cutoff dates to opt for this scheme is from 1st of May to 31st of July. Yani 2 months before and 1 month after, or within the first month of that quarter in which you have to opt for QRMP scheme. Similarly, if we have to opt for QRMP from October to December, if we are talking about October to December, and now I want to opt for QRMP scheme, then I can avail this scheme again 2 months before, that is from 1st of August till the end of the first month, that is from 1st of August to 31st of October, I can opt for the QRMP scheme. So initial period के लिए, first period के लिए जो 1st January से start हो रहा है, I have to opt the scheme from 5th to 31st of January, from 5th of December to 31st of January. Thereafter, I can opt for this scheme 2 months before, and 1 month within the quarter for which I am opting. So 2 months before and 1 month within which I am opting for this scheme. Now, assuming I have to opt for first quarter of 2021-22, 2021-22 के फर्स्ट क्वार्टर के लिए ऑप्ट करना है, तो व्हाट इज द पीरियड? 2 months before. So 2 months before will be 1st of February 2021. So from 1st of February 21 to within the first month of the quarter for which I am opting, that is 30th of April. 2 महीना पहला, 1 महीना उस जिस मंथ के लिए, जिस क्वार्टर के लिए मैं ऑप्ट कर रहा हूं, वो वाला पीरियड. Similarly, if I have to opt for third quarter, so 2 months before, that is 1st of August to 31st of October, 1 महीना जिस QRMP, जिस क्वार्टर के लिए मैं ऑप्ट करने जा रहा हूं, उसका भी 1 महीना मुझे मिलेगा, and I can move for this, opt for this scheme. Plus, there is a condition that when I am moving to opt for this scheme, I have to make sure all my GSTR-3Bs, all my GSTR-1 up to that point are filed and they are submitted. So in simple words, assuming I have to opt for quarter 2, and I am availing this option on say 27th of June. I am allowed to opt from 1st of May to 31st July. So availing this option on 27th June. So the law says that all the returns due by 27th June, that is April, May, GSTR-1 and 3B, all the returns due by 27 June must be filed. तो 27 जून तक उससे पहले जितनी ड्यू डेट्स आ चुकी हैं वो सारी रिटर्न्स फाइल्ड होनी चाहिए. ओनली देन यू कैन ऑप्ट फॉर QRMP scheme. So if I am opting it on 27th June, it means that all my returns by 31st May should be filed. Only then I will be able to avail this scheme. So this was who is eligible: a supplier with aggregate turnover less than 5 crore rupees. How to opt: for the first period, it is from 5th of December to 31st of January, and after that 2 months before and 1 month after the relevant for the relevant QRMP quarter. Monthly payment. The government has now come up with a simplified method for this also. They said there are two methods. One is the normal method and one is the fixed sum method. This is the new method that the government has come out for QRMP scheme. For both the mechanism, for both the methods, my tax challan will remain the same. That is GST PMT 06. So जो payment करनी है, the payment challan will be same. It will be PMT 06 whether I am doing a normal method payment or I am doing a fixed sum method. Plus, in normal method there is nothing new. In normal method there is nothing new. It says that you calculate your output tax for the relevant month. You calculate your input tax for the relevant month. Your tax payable will be ascertained and you will have to deposit this tax. So it is nothing new in the normal method. You just have to calculate your output tax for the month, input tax for the month, the balance you have to pay. You will pay that tax matter close. In fixed sum method, the provision says that for the quarter, which consists of 3 months, for the first 2 months of the quarter, so there are 3 months in a quarter. For the first 2 months of the quarter, you will pay a fixed sum at the rate of 35%, of the previous quarter taxes, and the balance amount should be deposited in the third month. Let us understand it with an illustration. So assuming I have opted for QRMP scheme and I have opted for fixed sum method from July 2021. So second quarter say I have opted for QRMP scheme. My first quarter, the final tax payments for the first quarter was IGST 1000, CGST and SGST 3000 each. So IGST में 1000 रुपए, C और S के अंदर 3000 each I paid for the first quarter. Now the fixed sum method says the total tax which you have paid in the preceding quarter, that is 1000 rupees, a fixed percentage of 35% of the amount you paid in the previous quarter. So 1000 into 35%, that is 350 rupees. You will pay 350 for July, that is the first month of the quarter, 350 for August, that is the second month of the quarter, and the balance will be paid in September 2021. Similarly, for CGST, 35% is 1050. You will pay 1050 in the first and the second month, and the balance will be paid in September 2021. So in normal method, you will have to calculate your taxes every month. What is my output tax? What is my input tax? And then you will arrive at your tax payable. But in fixed sum method, the government has given you an option, a thumb rule, कि आप previous period का tax उठाइए, for the first 2 months multiplied by 35%, pay those taxes, and for the third month or the last quarter, that is the consolidated figure, you pay the balance amount when you are filing your GSTR-3B. The only condition attached to fixed sum method is that whenever you're opting for a fixed sum method, then your previous quarter should be the complete quarter. So if I've obtained my registration on 5th of April, if I obtained my registration on 5th of April 2021, then since I am not registered for the first 4 days, that is from 1st of April to 4th of April, I cannot opt for fixed sum method for that particular quarter. तो मेरे को QRMP के अंदर फिक्स सम मेथड कब मिलेगा? जब प्रीवियस क्वार्टर पूरा कंप्लीट है. I should be registered from the first day of the previous quarter till the last date of the previous quarter. Only then fixed sum method will be applicable. Otherwise, it will not be applicable. So generally, in simple words, I can say that when you have taken a fresh registration, only then there is a possibility that you were not registered for the entire quarter. So only for that first period you will not be eligible for fixed sum method, and thereafter from second period onwards you will be eligible for fixed sum method. So सिर्फ नई registrations के अंदर आपको issue आएगा fixed sum method का. Thereafter fixed sum method will be available to everyone. Secondly, if you have not paid these amounts, whether in fixed sum method or normal method, by 25th, अगर आपने 25th तक ये amounts pay नहीं करे, then interest will be applicable at the rate of 18%, which is the general rule. Section 50 will apply. Now there are certain relaxations even in this method. जब मैं यहां पे बात कर रहा हूं normal method के अंदर, I will take ITC for the current month and I will also take opening ITC. I will also consider my cash ledger balances. In this method, I will also take the credit lying in my credit ledgers. I will also take into consideration my cash lying in cash ledgers. So the similar provisions, similar relaxations have been provided that in fixed sum method, you are not required to pay this 35% amount also if the balance is lying in your cash ledger or credit ledger. If the amount is already lying in your credit ledger or cash ledger, mind your words. Mind your words. What is important over here is to understand that it is amounts in the credit ledger and cash ledger, not what you will get through after the end of the quarter. आपने क्वार्टर के बाद रिटर्न फाइल करनी है and then your balance will be sufficient. You are not considering that. It is the balance which is already lying in the credit ledger. So in simple words, after filing my return for the first quarter 2021-22, first quarter की return file करने के बाद, I have some credits lying. Though I will consider those credit or those cash ledger balances. But in case I have surplus credit in July, and I say that मेरा credit positive है, that will not work. So if it is already there, it is already lying, only then you have a relaxation to not pay this 35%. Otherwise, you will have to pay. Secondly, in case there is a shortfall of payment, what does shortfall of payment means? My actual liability for July was 400 rupees. My actual liability for August was 500 rupees. I have opted for fixed sum method, but my actual liability for July was 400. For August, it was 500. So I have made a short payment of 50 and 150. So you even have a relaxation that no interest will be charged. No interest will be charged if you have opted for fixed sum method. However, if it is a normal method, then yes, interest will be payable for the deficit amount of 50 and 150. So concluding these methods, you have two options. One is the normal mechanism, calculate output tax for the month, calculate input tax for the month. You will arrive at tax payable, pay that tax, matter closed. Or you have opted for a fixed sum method. That is 35% of the tax of the previous month, you will have to pay it automatically. You will have to pay it without considering your credits for that particular month. However, you can consider the credits and cash ledger balances on the first day of that particular quarter for which we have opted for fixed sum method. Now coming to the third aspect of this, returns under QRMP scheme. So there is nothing much in these returns. These are basic GSTR-3B. That is my return. which has to be filed by 22nd or 24th of the succeeding month. 22nd for Southern India, 24th for Northern India. So for example, if I have to file my return for first quarter of 2021-22, so my due date will be by the next month of the quarter, that is July, 22nd or 24th July, depending upon the state in which I am registered. And for GSTR1, it will be 13th of the succeeding month. Plus, if my to illustrate, if I have to file my GSTR1 for 2021-22, my cutoff date will be 13th of July. So there is no change in GSTR-3B and 1. Only the due date of GSTR-1 has been preponed. The due date of GSTR-1 has been preponed from 30th or 31st of the month to 13th of the month. तो पहले जो लास्ट डेट होती थी वो अब 13th के ऊपर आ गई. This was the overview of the QRMP scheme. Now the only problem with this scheme was that if we go by this mechanism, then every taxpayer will file GSTR1 on quarterly basis. अब मेरे को QRMP scheme available है. Since I have an option to file my GSTR1 on a quarterly basis, what will I do? I will file it quarterly. And as soon as I file my returns GSTR1 quarterly, what is the problem? That my recipient will now not have credits in his 2A. मैं जब 1 फाइल करूंगा मेरे recipient के 2A and now 2B में भी कुछ credits आएंगे. Since I have not filed my return, his 2A and 2B both will be 0. He will not be able to claim the credits by virtue of 36(4), Rule 36(4), which limits that I can avail credits only up to 110% of 2A. So the government said, if we will restrict our QRMP scheme till this level, this will create a havoc. QRMP scheme will not become successful. To make this scheme successful, what they brought in is IFF, Invoice Furnishing Facility. So I am registered in QRMP. I have made supplies to some registered person. So if I wish to, I will file their data, I will file their reports on a monthly basis, through this form, that is IFF, Invoice Furnishing Facility. So this is a facility to report B2B invoices on a monthly basis by a QRMP scheme. But it is optional. Only if the taxpayer wishes to file, he can file it using IFF. This is only for the recipient. This is the entire crux of this IFF, is to ensure the credits flow to the recipient on the regular interval, that is on the monthly basis. So it is an option, and this option is available for the first 2 months, because in the third month you will obviously file your GSTR1. So this IFF can be used for the first 2 months, and for the third month of the quarter, GSTR1 will be filed. Then through IFF, you can there is an upper cap that you can transfer invoices worth rupees 50 lakhs per month. 50 lakh per month through IFF facility. You cannot go beyond 50 lakh rupees. Thirdly, it is not necessary that you have to report entire B2B invoices in IFF. For example, I have 300 invoices, 300 B2B invoices. And out of those 300 B2B invoices, only 10 invoices were necessary for me to upload in IFF. So I uploaded only 10 invoices. Then I have no problems. I can upload those 10 invoices in IFF. Balance 290 I will upload in the GSTR1 of that particular month, and I will not have to re-upload these 10 invoices in GSTR1. So in simple words, in a particular month, I can submit some data in IFF, and the balance data will be submitted through GSTR1, and those invoices which have already been submitted by IFF will not be required to be submitted again through GSTR1. Lastly, we can save data in IFF that is invoice furnishing facility, it can be saved real time. So I issued a B2B invoice. I have an option to save that B2B invoice on the GST portal. It can be done real time basis. However, the furnishing or the uploading of IFF will be available only after the completion of the month, only after the completion of the month, and within 13 days of the succeeding month. So for example, if I have to file IFF for April, तो मैं डाटा तो पूरे अप्रैल में भी सेव कर सकता हूं, and I can save it from 1st of May till 13th of May 2021, and by 13th I have to file the return. By 13th I have to upload this IFF so that corresponding 2A and 2Bs can generate these invoices in the input tax credit amount for the recipient. So in simple words, you can save the data real time and you can upload it by 13th of the next month. It will commence from 1st till 13th of the next month. आप इसको साथ साथ सबमिट नहीं कर सकते हो. सबमिट करने के लिए we will have to wait for the completion of the month, and by 13th of that month you can upload your invoices in IFF. So this was the entire crux of QRMP scheme. Now if we analyze this scheme and understand who actually are the major beneficiaries, who have actually gained out of this scheme, are basically two categories of taxpayers. One is exporter of goods and services. Exporters generally don't have any tax payment to be made. जब मेरी tax payment ही नहीं है, so there is no requirement for monthly tax payment. So no monthly tax payments required. If there is an RCM, then definitely you will have to pay. But apart from that, there are no tax payments that have to be made. Plus, since all my supplies will be B2C supplies, all my supplies will be B2C. Since I am exporting, my recipients are located outside India. जब इंडिया के बाहर located है, उनको क्रेडिट से कुछ लेना देना नहीं है. I don't even have to furnish my invoices through IFF. There is no requirement for IFF. तो टेक्निकली ना मुझे मंथली टैक्स पे करना है, ना मुझे IFF मंथली करना है. So eventually I will be required to file a quarterly GSTR-1, quarterly GSTR-3B, 2 months of clear relaxation for exporter of goods and services. They have a clear relaxation. 2 महीने उन लोगों को कुछ नहीं करना. So in simple words, मई और जून खाली है, जुलाई के अंदर रिटर्न भरेंगे, अगस्त सितंबर खाली है, अक्टूबर में रिटर्न भरेंगे. So 2 months clear, no GST compliance in this category. Only if there is an RCM, then they will have to file. And second relief is to those suppliers who are dealing in only B2C supplies, basically small shop owners, those who are registered in GST, they are only making supplies to unregistered suppliers. So they will have to file their monthly tax payments. उनको monthly tax तो file करना ही करना है, but they are not required to report any B2B supplies. So the need for IFF will be very less or almost negligible. So monthly tax compute किया, matter closed. GSTR-1 B2C, GSTR-3B, total supplies already there. Tax input tax credit calculated, आधा tax already pay करा हुआ है, matter closed. So these are the two major beneficiaries of the scheme. Exporter, where they may have complete 2 months without any compliances, and in B2C supplies you will have to just file your monthly tax and then wait for the quarter, file your GSTR-1 and 3B on a quarterly basis. And even in these cases, when they will have surplus credit in their credit ledgers, even then they will not be required to do any monthly tax payment, since the credit is already lying in credit ledger. तो वहां पे भी उन लोगों को relaxation है. So this is the scheme in which we will see that many a times a person is not required to do any compliance in a particular month, in which earlier he was required to file GSTR-1 also, he was required to file GSTR-3B also. So there will be some relaxation, some benefit, and not only to the taxpayers, but also to we as professionals also. Because if we have, say, 10 or 15 or 20 exporters, now our time consumption on those 10, 15, 20 taxpayers will be very less as compared to my other. Similarly, when I talk about B2C supply, again, we just have to compute the tax. There is no mandate, no requirement for IFF. So all these will also help the professionals also to save time and devote their time on much better things. With this, we close our QRMP scheme, and now we will start the other related aspects, other latest changes and amendments in GST Act. If you have any queries in relation to QRMP scheme, you can post those queries at the end of the session. We will have ample time at the end of the session, so we will take all those queries at the end. GSTR-2A and GSTR-2B. We all understand that GSTR-2A is a live form. With live form, I mean it updates on a real-time basis. आपने GSTR-1 फाइल किया, 2A will increase. You reported a credit note in your GSTR-1, my credit will reduce. So it is a fluctuating form. GSTR-2A is not a stagnant form, it is a fluctuating form. Whereas GSTR-2B, it is a stagnant form. It will be generated only once a month with fixed figures, and all the additions, deletions, amendment, etc., if done during that period, will then be incorporated in the next GSTR-2B. So the basic and the fundamental difference between GSTR-2A and GSTR-2B is that 2A is a live form which changes every now and then. As soon as GSTR-1 is filed, the figures in 2A are impacted, whereas GSTR-2B is a stagnant form. If there are any changes, they will be considered in the next form, GSTR-2B. Now let us understand the basic idea of 2A and 2B. And to understand that, we must see what is the requirement, what is the expectation of the government. This is the extract. This is the extract of GSTR-3B, table number 4, which contains the detail of input tax credit. So this is I have taken a screenshot from GST website, that what details are required for input tax credit. So table number 4, it says import of goods, import of services, RCM, ISD, ITC, etc. Now both GSTR-2A and GSTR-2B will contain details of import of goods. So there will be details of import of goods both in 2A and 2B. There will be details of reverse charge. Reverse charge. Only those reverse charge entries will be reported in which the supplier is registered under the GST Act and he has submitted the details through GSTR-1. So if I have taken services from an unregistered supplier which are liable to reverse charge, obviously those cannot be auto-populated anywhere. But in case those services are taken from a person who is registered under the GST Act, for example, a GTA is registered under the GST Act, and he has submitted his information in GSTR-1 that I have supplied Mr. X for ₹1 lakh, and he is required to pay on reverse charge basis, then it will be auto-populated. Similarly, credits from input service distributor and all other credits will be auto-populated. Both GSTR-2A and 2B will contain all these details. Now the issue arises when there are almost similar details. The only difference will be the time lag, that 2B is a fixed data, 2A is a fluctuating data. Apart from that, there is no difference in the data that is being captured in the two forms. There are certain additional details in GSTR-2B also. I'm not going into those integrities of that form, but the overall idea of GSTR-2A and 2B is that they both contain detail of my credits, that to similar credits. The only difference is that one is on a particular date and one is live and it can change every now and then. So now as a taxpayer, which document should I rely upon? Whether it should be GSTR-2A or it should be GSTR-2B. So for that, we must go back to the provisions of the law. We must see which form has what is the role of GSTR-2A, what is the role of GSTR-2B, and from that we will be able to understand how to use these forms rather than just blindly copying GSTR-2B or blindly copying GSTR-2A will not work. So let us understand the legal provision for both 2A and 2B. So the basic provision of 2A though it is contained in Rule 60 also. The origination is through Rule 60, but 2A has been given significant power through 36.4. 36.4 has actually given 2A so much power that we never expected. And what power it has given? That you can claim credits in your return only up to 110% of the amount reflected in 2A. So if my amount reflected in 2A is say 1000 rupees, I can claim credit up to 1100 rupees. That is 1000 plus 10%, 1100 rupees. So this is the significance of 2A, that it can restrict my credit. My actual credit is 1500, but 36.4 is restricting it to 1100 rupees. I'm not disputing, I'm not going into the constitutional and legal validity of 36.4. It is already challenged, and according to me also, it is a not a correct provision. But as of now, since it is the part of the law, we have to understand it accordingly. So 2A still restricts my credit till 110% of the amount reflected in it. And what is GSTR-3B? It has recently been introduced, and there are two sub-rules, 60 sub-rule 7, 60 sub-rule 8. I have only brought the opening lines. I am reading it verbatim for everyone. An auto-drafted statement containing the details of input tax credit shall be made available to the registered person in Form 2B for every month electronically through the common portal, and shall consist of, that is only, import of goods, all other credit, ISD, XYZ. 8. The statement in Form GSTR-2B for every month shall be made available to the registered person. So they have now provided what will be the date on which they will provide these facility. So 13th and 11th उन्होंने वहां पे dates डाली है considering the IFF and all the provisions. So basically क्या है, क्या details होंगी और किसको supply करेंगे, कब supply करेंगे. That is the only thing 2B is to be done. So 2B is an auto drafted statement. ये legal provision है. I have not done anything in this. It is a legal provision. They say that we will provide an auto drafted GSTR-2B. It will contain some details of the credit, and it will be made available to some registered person on some timelines. That is it. Whereas 2A still stands that it will restrict my credit only up to 10% of the amount reflected in it. Now, which is the more important form, 2A or 2B? 2B has no legal backing. It is just an auto drafted form. Till the time they bring this 2B, till the time they bring GSTR-2B in Rule 36.4, it does not have that force, that power that we should go and concentrate on Form GSTR-2B. Definitely, in many cases, we can only restrict to GSTR-2B. For example, mine is an exporter of goods or services. So I can keep myself out of all these calculations, take the credit as per GSTR-2B. It is a fixed form. I will keep that form, matter closed. But where I have, say, my credit in 2B is 100 rupees. My credit in GSTR-2A is, say, 300 rupees. Can I advise my client that I should go only for 2B? He will say, sir, my cash flow of rupees 200 is impacted, and you are saying just follow 2B. So you will have to decide it on a case-to-case basis. Now, the biggest thing or the biggest observation of this entire GSTR-2B is in the instruction of the form itself. Form GSTR-2B has been notified by 82/2020, by notification 82/2020. After the form, there are some instructions. And in those instructions, there is an important advisory. This is the extract from the form itself. And now I am reading this instruction, this advisory verbatim. Form GSTR-2B is a statement which has been generated on the basis of the information furnished by your suppliers in their respective Form GSTR-1, 5, and 6, and it will include IFF also. It is a static statement. It is a static statement. It will not be a variable statement, and will be made available once a month. The document filed by the supplier in any form GSTR-1, 5, and 6 would be reflected in the next open form GSTR-2B. So if there are any amendments, deletion, additions, it will be reflected in the next GSTR-2B. Now the important words. The lines highlighted in green color. Taxpayers are advised to refer Form GSTR-2B for availing credit in Form 3B. So, we are advising you that you should refer Form GSTR-2B to claim credits in 3B. There is no legal requirement because we have already seen there is no legal obligation. 2B is only a form which will be made available to taxpayer on a specified date containing specified particulars. So, but in instruction they have said that you are advised to claim credit through GSTR-2B. However, again reading from the extract itself, however, in case of additional details, they may refer to their respective Form 2A, which is updated on near real-time basis for more details. What does this mean? 2B से क्रेडिट लेने हैं, अगर 2A में ज्यादा आ रहा है तो 2A से लेने, तो then what was the need for GSTR-2B? So the government, maybe they are thinking something which we have not yet observed, but sooner or later we all understand that GSTR-2B will play an important role. They have introduced it as a statement. Till now, they have not linked it with the claiming of credit. GSTR-2A was also linked with the claiming of credit in 2019. October 2019 के अंदर they linked credit with 2A. So sooner or later, GSTR-2B will also be linked with credit. This is my expectation of the GST team, that they will link GSTR-2B with 3B and somehow we will have to deal with 2B. But as on date, GSTR-2B is only a form. It nowhere restricts my credit. It nowhere guides me. It only guides me to one thing: the stagnant figures on a particular date. That total amount reflected on that particular date was X rupees. That is it. If there is any addition, deletion, then it is not referred in 2B. So without any legal backing, and even when the instruction itself that you can ignore 2B and go to 2A, the objective of the entire form seems to be deteriorated. So we will have to wait how the government, how the department is now pushing forward GSTR-2B to be a main form for GSTR-3B, that you should take credit from 2B only. So let's wait how the department takes or brings amendment to incorporate it as part of the law and restricting the credits. Another important change is in e-invoicing and QR codes. So as of now, we all knew that if the aggregate turnover was above 500 crores, if the aggregate turnover was above 500 crores, then in case of B2B recipients, I was required to issue the e-invoice, that is invoice reference number was mandatory, and it is already applicable with effect from 1st of October. And for B2C recipient, I have to specify a QR code on my invoice, and it was applicable with effect from 1st of December 2020. Now, since this QR code was not very well developed, the government has relaxed this applicability. Rather, they have not relaxed the applicability. They have said that the penalties for not quoting the QR code on the invoices has been waived till March 2021. So for the period 1st of December to 31st March 2021, if your invoice, the provision is applicable, but in case you have not complied with it, then penalty will not be applicable. The penalties will be applicable after 1st of April 2021. This was already there. They have given a relaxation that the penalty will be waived. Plus, there is an addition. They have said that if your aggregate turnover is above 100 crore rupees, so पहले 500 crores को लेके, now they have brought that if your aggregate turnover is above 100 crore rupees, then QR code, they are still silent. They have not given anything about QR code. But for e-invoicing, they have said it is mandatory from 1st of January 2021. So if your turnover exceeds 100 crore rupees since the inception of GST in any particular financial year, then e-invoicing will be applicable. QR code, there is no notification to apply QR codes on these suppliers, but e-invoicing will be applicable from 1st of January 2021. Again, sir, you will have to, if there is a client who has a turnover above 100 crore rupees, you will have to guide him for these e-invoicing, because even today, the categories for which e-invoice is applicable, that is 500 crore, we are seeing that many of the suppliers have not found the correct or the appropriate uh, platform through which they can generate the e-invoices. So it is advised that everyone, those who are dealing with clients having aggregate turnovers above 100 crore rupees, they find a platform through which they can guide their clients that use this platform to generate the e-invoices. So no major change. The only thing is that if QR code is not mentioned till March 21, no penal action will be taken. For above 100 crore rupees, start planning. 1st of January is the cutoff date, and e-invoices should be issued from 1st of January 2021. Blocking of e-way bill. The provision, Rule 138E provides that if you have not filed your CMP 08 or GSTR-3B or GSTR, if you have not filed any of these forms, CMP 08, return for the composition dealer, GSTR-3B, my normal return, GSTR-1, my outward supply return, for a consecutive period, CMP 08 for a consecutive 2 quarters, GSTR-3B for consecutive 2 months, and GSTR-1 for consecutive 2 months or quarter, as the case may be, then your e-way bill generation will be blocked. And by e-way bill generation, it means that whether I'm a supplier or a recipient, an e-way bill cannot be generated. It cannot be generated by me. It cannot be generated by the counterparty. For example, if I'm a recipient, even the supplier cannot generate, keeping me as a recipient. Even the transporter cannot generate, keeping me as the recipient. Or if I'm the supplier, me as the supplier. So neither I can issue an e-way bill, nor the recipient or the transporter or the e-commerce company or any other person who is authorized to issue the e-way bill. So none of them can issue the e-way bills. So with effect from 1st of December, the government said that we will start. For the COVID period, they gave a relaxation, and now they have said that from 1st of December, we will start blocking the e-way bills. So now it is already in process. Now my e-way bill is already blocked. I had not filed my GSTR-3B or GSTR-1. My e-way bill is blocked. Now what to do? The biggest concern. Sir, returns have already been filed, but my e-way bill is still blocked. What should I do? So for that, you will have to file EWB, e-way bill 05, EWB 05 form, and it has to be filed online. So you will file this form online. The contents of these form are very simple. It is just the GSTN name, legal name, trade name, address. They will be auto-populated, no issues. Then fifth, facility of furnishing information in part A of EWB. Again, it will be auto-generated कि किस दिन से ये block हुआ था. Now you have to provide reasons. You have to provide reasons for unblocking of e-way bill and the expected date of filing of the returns for which you have already defaulted. If it is already filed, then you will write already filed, and you can upload 4 attachments with it also. So you will have to file this online, and after filing this EWB 05, if the commissioner or the authorized proper officer feels that yes, you should be allowed to issue e-way bills, then he will unblock your restriction, and you will be able to generate the e-way bills. And how to move to this EWB 05? So you will have to go to the services. There is an option, user services. There you will have to select my application. In my application, you will have to select application for unblocking of e-way bill. And once you select this entire form will be visible. You have to feed the data, submit it, and then the counterparty will get back to you. That is, the department will go through your EWB 05 and understand whether they should allow unblocking or not. In simple words, if you have already filed your returns, then there will be no issue. The department will unblock it. But if you have not filed your return, then there may be a concern that he may reject this application that I am not unblocking. So he even has the power to reject this application that I am not giving you an option to file an e-way bill. It is still unblocked. You file your return, only then I will unblock. Other important points. One is verification of taxpayers granted deemed registration. We all understand that since August 2020, the government came up with the new provision that Aadhaar authentication will be mandatory. So only if Aadhaar authentication has been completed, then there will be no physical verification of the premises. But during the interim period, that is 21st August to 16th November, during the interim period, that is 21st August to 16th of November, some registrations, even though their Aadhaar authentication was incomplete, they were granted some registration. They were granted deemed registration. Now, this instruction has been issued to the departmental officials that they should go and verify the premises, and they have issued a some checklist point that has to be considered while doing the physical verification. As a professional, we should all go back and check whether I have done any registration during the said period, that is 21st of August to 16th of November. If yes, then identify whether Aadhaar authentication was done or not. If it was done, no issues. If it was not done, then go through these instructions. Guide your client. Sir, these are the things that you must keep ready, and the departmental officer or the inspector is just around the corner. He may come to you today, tomorrow, or in a day, or say 5 days. So it is better that we all understand the gravity. We all understand when the departmental officer comes to our client, even if he is the level of the inspector, the client has some nerves on. So to ensure that nerves are not highlighted, we must give him that these are the instructions. You have to get all these data ready, make the photocopies of them available. You should keep the entire set ready. Just hand it over to the inspector who is coming, and he should mark all the observations, and everything should be complete. So this is basically, we should guide our client that this has to be done, and this is waiting around the corner, and we should not wait further. The client should not call us, "Ki sir, the inspector has arrived." Rather, we should be already advising the client that there is the possibility that the inspector is coming to you. Another important thing, nowadays we are seeing so many summons issued for fake invoices and for other reasons also. And there are 2 or 3 major issues that I thought that we should actually consider. One of them was, what is the scope of summon? So here I would like to recommend that 90% of the summons are incomplete, or they are not as per the intent of section 70. Having said so, the first and the main aspect is that whenever you receive a summon, you must obtain the reason why the summon has been issued. It cannot be issued waiverdly. They should specify that we are doing an inspection or a search was conducted on XYZ, and through that we have received some information, and we are calling you for your statement under section 70. So there should be a scope given to a summon, and it should be written in the notice itself. And if it is not written, you must ask from the client. Plus, once the scope is defined, then the department is bound to remain within that scope, and it was held in the case of Gale Gas Limited. In Gale Gas Limited, what happened is the company received a summon. That that you come and give us a statement because we are inquiring the case of Mr. XYZ. So for that, Mr. XYZ, you come and give me the statement. When these people they went for statement under section 70. So for XYZ, they were ready to give everything. But the department started asking questions for ABC, PQR, FYZ, whatever the name was appearing in their purchase and sales register, they started asking questions for everyone. So Gale Gas Limited then approached High Court and said that the scope of summon under section 70 is limited to the case for which you have opened it. So if you have opened it for Mr. XYZ, you will have to remain within the ambit of XYZ. So all your questions should be limited to Mr. XYZ. You cannot ask question for all the vendors and the suppliers of that particular client. Again, why this is important? Because I receive a summon for Mr. X, but the department start asking question for Y, Z, A, B, C, everyone. So keep this judgment handy. Ask your client to keep this judgment. Whenever the department asks you questions of any entity which is not related, with the inquiry that is being conducted, they can always refer that, sir, this is the judgment in which it has already been held. You cannot go beyond this. Obviously, we all understand that a client saying that this provision is not applicable or you cannot go beyond the scope, and a professional saying the same thing, there is a vast difference. But definitely you can guide the client. And even the departmental officers consider, yes, this is a client of a learned professional. He understands the law. He is going through the latest judgment. And in case I try to exceed my limits, in case I try to go beyond the law, he may take the recourse of High Court. And again, once the recourse of High Court is taken, obviously the High Court comes down very strongly on these aspects to the relevant officers also. So we must guide our clients on the scope of someone, that it is limited only for which the inquiry is being conducted. 2. While the statements are being taken, can we as consultants or any lawyers be present during those scenarios? So it has been held in multiple cases that you are not allowed. Nobody can accompany the person for statement. So he has to give the statement himself. There is only one case law in which there was a positive judgment. Even in that case, what was decided by the High Court was that the statement will be taken between two persons only. The consultant will sit at a distance where he cannot hear, he cannot influence, but he can only see that the person whose statement is being taken is not manhandled. So they were expecting that my client will be manhandled by the GST officer. So he approached the High Court and he said that, sir, this is the only aspect. We have no issues in giving the statement, but we are expecting that they will try third degree. And because of that, we just want one thing, that I should be in a distance from where I can only see. I cannot hear, I cannot guide, I cannot change the proceedings. So there is only one favorable case law. Otherwise, in 99.99% cases, it has been not allowed. The High Court has never given a relief that a consultant or a lawyer can be present during the statement. Then another important aspect, now we are facing in summons. Can there be parallel proceedings under Section 70? What do I mean by parallel proceeding? I mean, I am registered in Delhi and Mumbai. I received a notice in Delhi jurisdiction. I received a summon in Delhi jurisdiction for a matter concerning Mr. A. I also received a summon in my Mumbai jurisdiction. For the same person, that is Mr. A. So I have received two summons for the same inquiry from Mr. A. Are these two summons or the second summon, can it be said to be invalid since the proceedings are already live? So the High Court said, no, sir. Both the proceedings are as per law. You have two distinct persons for the GST purposes. The Delhi GST is a separate person. The Maharashtra GST is a separate person. And two proceedings against two separate persons have been initiated. So there is no problem. This cannot be said to be parallel proceeding or same proceeding on the same person for the same default. So in this case, the High Court said that it is allowed. Both the jurisdiction can open the same matter for different GSTs. However, if in Delhi registration, I have already received a summon from CGST office. For the same matter, if I received a summon from state office also. In this case, what happened? I received a notice from CGST and I also received the notice summon from SGST office for the same matter. Here the High Court said that it is the matter of parallel proceedings which should not be allowed. So they have stayed the proceedings. they have stayed the proceedings for the State Department and said that first let the central complete their proceedings, frame their opinion. They should share their opinion with the state office also, and then you decide whether you wish to proceed further or not. You cannot ask the client, you cannot ask the taxpayer to come up before two separate authorities for the same matter. So here they have stayed. So what is important over here is that if the someone is received for the same GST against the same party from both the department, that is the CGST and SGST, then the later can be stayed. However, if it is received from two different jurisdictions on two different GSTN, then those proceedings can be done simultaneously. There is no neglect or the suppression of the law. Also, Section 6(2)(b) of the CGST Act. Section 6(2)(b) of the CGST Act provides that once a proceeding has been initiated by either the central office or the state office, the other office should not initiate the proceedings on the same matter. So only one proceeding should be conducted at a time. Two parallel proceedings cannot be done. So why again? Since someone are coming to us from every now and then, especially in cases where we have multiple registrations, so the chain, due to bogus issues, there may be certain someone that have already been received by your client. So these three aspects: what is the scope, whether a lawyer or a consultant can be present or not, and lastly, can there be parallel proceedings or not? These are the three things that we all must be very careful, and based on this, we can now advise our client how to proceed further. Another important judgment: validity of notices sent through High Court. It is a very celebrated judgment, and it has been circulating in WhatsApp since last 2 to 3 days. In the case of Akash Garg versus State of Madhya Pradesh, in this, an assessment under Section 74. Assessment can be done in through Section 73 and 70. Assessment say I mean determination of taxes for under GST can be done through Section 73 and 74. So in this case, Section 74 was applied. That is, there was mens rea, misstatement, or wrongful intention to evade payment of taxes. However, those show cause notices and the orders thereafter all were sent through email. And the counsel of the taxpayer moved High Court and said that as per Section 142, the only mechanism to issue a notice or a show cause notice or an order is by uploading it on the common portal. So only and after uploading on the common portal, the compliance gets completed. So in this case, the government, the High Court struck down the order and have asked the department to follow the procedure of Section 142 and then comply with and then proceed with their recovery proceedings. As on date, this judgment will not be very helpful for any of us. What is the reason behind it? Since Section 74 can be attracted for 7 years. Almost for 7 years, this Section 74 can be attracted. But when we are standing at the last dates of these assessments, when there is a closing of the period, for example, 18-19 is getting time barred or 17-18 is getting time barred, at that particular point in time, all these judgments will be helpful. So today, if you don't comply with the notice, then you can go for a second round, that since it has not been uploaded, it is invalid as per the ruling of High Court in the case of Akash Garg. But eventually, they will upload it, and since the time period for assessment is still remaining, they will assess, create the demand, and move to recover the demand. So in these circumstances, it is better that you should take this as a ground, but not solely and wholly depend on this, because there is time limit left with the department to complete the process and then proceed to recover the demand. However, at the later stages, it will be very helpful. Another important change, that is in relation to HSN. Though it has already been notified in October 2020, but I am re-bringing it because there are so many changes in GST and we forget some important changes. And it is that now with effect from 1st April 2021, from 1st April 2021, the suppliers will be divided in two categories for HSN purposes: above 5 crore, less than 5 crore. Above 5 crore, less than 5 crore. So even in return, they have divided it in two categories: above 5, less than 5. So now there is a clear demarcation that above 5 crores are good taxpayers, big taxpayers. Less than 5 crore are comparatively small taxpayers. So all the provisions are now synced with this line of 5 crore rupees. Second, currently we have divided HSN classification in three categories: above 1.5 CR, 1.5 to 5, and above 5. Less than 5 CR, no requirement for HSN. 1.5, 1.5 to 5 CR, it is 2 digit. Above 5 crore, there is a requirement for 4 digit. But from 1st of April 2021, if the supply is made to a registered person, then suppliers having aggregate turnover up to 5 crore rupees, be it rupees 100, 200, 1 lakh, 2 lakh, they will have to quote GSTN at a 4 digit level and above 5 crore at a 6 digit level. Why it is important? Why I am discussing this amendment, which is due on 1st of April 2021? These small taxpayers do not get our attendance, do not get our time that they actually deserve. It is not because they are paying us so much that they deserve the time. It is because the law, even for them, is getting very tricky. If a small client whose turnover is only say 20 lakh rupees is dealing in 10 products for which he has never used an HSN, now he has to use a 4 digit HSN. So we will have to start working. We will have to devote a time, say 2 hours a week, and we will identify the clients on which we will mark down what are the HSNs that they have to use, so that we are in sync. They are well versed that with effect from 1st of April, they have a list. They have just copy from that these are the HSNs that they have to write. But there is a relaxation. In case of unregistered supplies, up to 5 crore, it is not mandatory. The entire HSN has been made not mandatory. So if you wish to, you write the HSN, otherwise it is not mandatory. But above 5 crore rupees, it is mandatory at 6 digit level. So in simple words, if you are dealing in B2B supplies, then 4 digit HSN level is invariably mandatory. And if it is above 5 crore rupees, then 6 digit level is mandatory invariably. So start working on this, start focusing on the clients on which these data will be required. And HSN working does not complete in a day or a 2 or 3. If you have 100 clients and out of those 100 clients, there are say 30 different trades that you are dealing in. So you may have to work on 300 HSN, average 10 HSN per trade. So 300 HSN takes some time to ascertain what is the correct HSN classification. When you start ascertaining, it will require further clarification. You might have to refer some case law, because 2 digit is very easy. 4 digit gets complicated, and 6 digit is actually very precise. Now you have to pinpoint which is the correct heading, and 8 is obviously the final product, so that cannot be altered. Even 6 is very tricky, so we must understand and try to start working on this. Apart from this, with effect from 1st December itself, the government has mandated 8 digit HSN on certain goods. And these are basically falling in the chapters of 28, 29, and 39. 39 or 32, I suppose. So in these three chapters, the government has moved from 4 digit directly to 8 digit, and that too with effect from 1st of December 2020. So in case your client is dealing in any of the products which are covered in chapter number 28, 29, or 32, 39, I'm not too sure which is the third chapter. So you are advised to go through this notification, see the HSN 8 digit codes that are mandatory, and ask your client to start implementing the same. So these were the major issues that I think should be discussed and considered, starting with QRMP scheme applicable to suppliers having turnover in the preceding financial year less than 5 crore rupees, can be opted 2 months before and 1 month into the quarter. There are two payment mechanisms: fixed sum method 35-35 balance, or the normal method output minus input. The due dates of GSTR1 will be 13th of the quarter. GSTR-3B will be 22nd and 24th, depending upon the state in which you are located. This is the summarized summary of QRMP. Then we discussed about 2A and 2B and the legal validity of 2B. That 2B is still not given that force that we should be very serious, we should be very contagious. Obviously, in many cases, we can use it. For example, exporters, or cases where we know that there will be no output. So we can be very conservative, take the credits from GSTR-2B and close the matter, file the return, so that we have a stagnant form through which we know how much credit was taken. Then we understood some aspects of summon. What is the scope? Can a lawyer represent or not? And lastly, parallel proceeding. And then some HSN related changes and e-invoicing, etc. With this, I close my session, and now we shall start taking the queries if we have any. Thank you, everyone. Deepak ji, are you there?
Yes, sir. सर आवाज आ रही है आपको मेरी?
Yes, yes, yes.
Yes, sir. So questions ले ले सर इसमें.
हाँ जी.
Okay. So first of all, I would like to say thank you very much, sir, for taking such excellent session and clearing the doubts regarding the scheme. And now we will move ahead towards the Q&A session. So friends, if you have any queries, you can ask your queries in the comment box. Write your queries there. We will take all your questions and then we'll reply your queries. So सुखविंदर जी की क्वेरी आ रही है. In the fixed sum method, if tax liability is first month is 350, balance in the cash ledger is 200, and credit ledger is also rupees 200, will the tax have to paid under fixed sum method?
Sir, according to me, no tax will be required in this particular scenario for the first month, since my liability is 350 and I have amount of 400 lying in my account, so I will not be required to pay any amount. After this, only 50 will be left, and for the second month, I can even take the benefit of that 50, and I will be required to only pay taxes to the amount of 300 rupees. Again, sir, it is my understanding of the law. There can be some variances or differences, and even the fixed sum method will take some time to evolve as to how and when to calculate what will be the amount and other things.
Yes. विशाल जी पूछ रहे bills uploaded can be amended in GSTR or not?
Sir, there is no specific provision that they can be amended. Obviously, there will be an option to amend those invoices in IFF or GSTR1, but that mechanism has to be re-verified. But in my view, it will be the part of GSTR1 only. All the documents submitted through IFF will automatically come part of GSTR1, and then you can amend the same. This is again, sir, when it will start practically, we will have to see. But obviously, there cannot be an option which will deny me any amendment.
Refund to exports will be delayed since refund application can be filed after return is filed, hence not beneficial to exports from this angle. So
it depends. If you want to file your refund application on a monthly basis, then it is not beneficial. But if you are filing it on a quarterly basis, it is beneficial. So again, you have to plan. It is not a single jacket formula that it will be beneficial to all the exporters. In our case, we only do with payment of taxes. So we have decided the quarter end for those particular taxpayers. So at the end of the quarter, we do it. One of the invoices are done as payment of taxes, and we claim the refund of that. So again, you have to decide on the basis of your client whether it should be done on quarterly basis or monthly basis.
Atul Tanwarji is asking, would interest really be applicable as there is no specific provisions levying interest on non-depositing or delayed depositing of tax into the cash ledger.
Sir, you don't have to deposit the cash into the cash ledger. From that cash ledger, you will have to pay PMT-06 challan also. You will be reducing your cash ledger and depositing it into the kitty of the government. It is not through GSTR-3B, but it will reduce your cash ledger balance.
अतुल जी की एक और क्वेरी है, अंडर विच प्रोविजंस ऑफ CGST एक्ट दिस इंटरेस्ट कैन बी लेविड और डिलेड डिपॉजिट ऑफ कैश इनटू द कैश लेजर.
सर कैश लेजर में नहीं लगेगा ना, इट विल बी नॉर्मल इंटरेस्ट सेक्शन 50 फॉर नॉट पेइंग द टैक्सेस. देयर इज नो, आई आल्सो एग्री विद यू, देयर इज नो प्रोविजन इन द एक्ट व्हिच अप्लाइज which requires tax to be paid on cash ledger. But when the liability is determined and the government has asked you to submit that liability either through PMT-06 or GSTR-3B and the same has not been paid within the specified due date, then obviously interest will be applicable.
Adesh Jain is asking.
In April, मैं पढ़ लेता हूँ. In April 20, deposit tax is 35%, and also in May 35%. In June, ITC availed to be adjusted. All month liability, can I do so adjusted with ITC or 30? सर, जब हम QRMP के फिक्स मेथड के अंदर जाएंगे तो लास्ट मंथ में जो मैंने कैश लेजर से पे किया हुआ, लास्ट क्वार्टर में जो मैंने कैश लेजर से पे किया हुआ है, उसका 35% एडॉक आ जाएगा. Then you will compute the final liabilities for this particular month. That your total output for the quarter is say 1000, total input for the quarter is say 700, total tax already paid by you in the first month 35%, and second month 35% is say 200. Then the balance of rupees 100 will be paid. And if you have paid in excess, तो आपको कुछ भी पे नहीं करना. यानी 35 ये मान के चलो एडवांस टैक्स है. उसके बाद आप क्वार्टर में कैलकुलेट कर रहे हो टोटल आउटपुट माइनस इनपुट माइनस एडवांस टैक्स. बैलेंस अगर पॉजिटिव आ रहा है तो आपको पे करना है, नेगेटिव आ रहा है यानी आपने एक्सेस पे कर रखी है, उतने के आपके कैश लेजर या क्रेडिट लेजर इंक्रीज हो जाएगा.
थैंक यू आनंदन जी. सर ये डेफिनेशन हमने बता दी है कमेंट बॉक्स में.
यस सर, सुखविंदर मानस जी, आपने पर्सनल में भी भेजा था. आई हैव स्टडीड इट अगेन, सो इट विल बी 20th ओनली.
कुछ लोग स्कीम का पूरा नाम पूछ रहे हैं, QRMP स्कीम. सो इट्स क्वार्टरली रिटर्न एंड मंथली पेमेंट स्कीम. थैंक यू राजीव ढींगरा जी.
सर द रिटर्न प्रोसेस इज नॉट कॉम्प्लिकेटेड. अगर आप आज के सिनेरियो से इसको कंसिडर करोगे तो अभी भी आप मंथली टैक्स तो 3B के थ्रू पे कर रहे थे. अब आपको पूरे 3B की जगह सिर्फ एक अमाउंट डाल के करनी है. तो एक रिलैक्सेशन आ गया, आउटपुट की फिगर नहीं देनी, इनपुट की फिगर नहीं देनी, सिर्फ टैक्स की फिगर देनी है. B2B का पहले भी अगर आप क्वार्टरली में थे, आप करते थे मंथली फाइल, तो ठीक है. नहीं करते तो अभी भी क्वार्टरली करना है. तो आई थिंक इट इज नॉट एडिंग ऑन कंप्लायंस. मैं सर जनरली मैं खुद क्रिटिसाइज करता हूँ जीएसटी लॉ को कि उसने बहुत हमें सिर्फ और सिर्फ कंप्लायंस के अंदर घुसा दिया है, जबकि हमें होना चाहिए था प्रोफेशनल एज कंसल्टेंट.
टोटली एग्री विद यू. थैंक यू संजय जी. सर ये सुखिंदर जी की दोबारा क्वेरी है.
The word used in credit or cash ledger hence should not be allowed in my opinion, sir. Sir, I think it. आप उसको पहले वाली इनकी क्वेरी एक बार लेके आएंगे.
मैं ला रहा हूँ. ये वाली है या इससे पुरानी है?
नहीं ये वाली नहीं, इससे पहले वाली. ये तो रिटर्न वाला है.
ये रिफंड की क्वेरी थी इनकी. ये वाला भी होगी शायद.
If fixed sum method, if tax liability in first month is 350, balance in cash ledger is 200. Sir, I think मेरे को पे करने की रिक्वायरमेंट नहीं है. ये जो क्रेडिट लेजर और कैश लेजर के अमाउंट्स हैं, ये मेरे स्टार्टिंग ऑफ द क्वार्टर में अगर मेरे लेजर्स के बैलेंसेस में खड़े हुए, then I am not required to pay any taxes under the fixed sum method.
थैंक यू ऑल द व्यूअर्स फ्रॉम आवर साइड एंड सर ये सब आपके लिए है तरुण जी, जो पार्टिसिपेंट्स देख रहे हैं। सर एक बार ये आईएफएफ का पोर्शन एक बार आप जल्दी सी क्विकली 1 मिनट में बता पाए या 2 मिनट बता पाए तो।
आईएफएफ बहुत सिंपल मैकेनिज्म है। आई एम अ क्यूआरएमपी डीलर सप्लायर, मेरे को क्वार्टरली वन फाइल करना है, बट मेरी कुछ बी टू बी सप्लाईज है, दोज हु हैव टू टेक क्रेडिट ऑन अ मंथली बेसिस. If I will file my GSTR1 on quarterly basis, then my recipient will get credit only after the quarter if they are complying with 2A, GSTR 2A और 2B. That is जो 2A में नजर आ रहा है उसी का क्रेडिट ले रहे हैं, तो उनको 3 महीने का लैग लग रहा है उस क्रेडिट को लेने के लिए. So government has come up with a facility, IFF, that a QRMP supplier can submit B2B invoices for the first month and the second month of the quarter कि वो अपने सप्लायर रेसिपिएंट्स को क्रेडिट पास ऑन कर दे. बस इन सिंपल वर्ड GSTR1 का एक छोटा सा हिस्सा है विच कैन बी डन मंथली बेसिस एज एन ऑप्शन इफ यू वांट टू. अगर आप किसी को क्रेडिट उसी महीने देना चाहते हो तो आप IFF भर के उसको उसी महीने क्रेडिट पास ऑन कर दीजिए.
यस
Sir, cash ledger and credit ledgers are basically the ledgers appearing in the GST portal. So, for example, my total items, मेरा कोई आउटपुट नहीं था इन अ पर्टिकुलर मंथ, मेरा 3B में क्रेडिट था 30 रुपीज, मैंने 30 रुपीज के बेसिस पे अपनी रिटर्न फाइल कर दी. नाउ दैट 30 विल गो टू माई क्रेडिट लेजर. फिर नेक्स्ट मंथ मेरा कोई इनपुट नहीं था, आउटपुट था 10 रुपीज का, तो वो 10 रुपीज मेरे लाइबिलिटी रजिस्टर में जाएंगे. उस लाइबिलिटी रजिस्टर के लिए मैं क्रेडिट रजिस्टर से 10 रुपए यूज कर लूंगा, तो मेरा क्रेडिट रजिस्टर जो पहले 30 का था उसमें से -10 हो जाएगा, उसका बैलेंस हो जाएगा 20. तो क्रेडिट रजिस्टर, लाइबिलिटी रजिस्टर और कैश लेजर्स, सॉरी लेजर्स, कैश लेजर, क्रेडिट लेजर्स और लाइबिलिटी लेजर्स, ये बेसिकली जीएसटी डिपार्टमेंट के साइड के ऊपर मेरी समरीज पड़ी है कि मैंने आज तक क्रेडिट क्लेम कितना किया, यूटिलाइज कितना किया, बैलेंस कितना. इज देयर एनी मोनिटरी सर? फिक्स सम मेथड अभी फर्स्ट क्वार्टर के लिए आपको मंथली बेसिस पे करना है. जो जनवरी, फरवरी, मार्च के लिए है उसके लिए कोई प्रीवियस क्वार्टर था ही नहीं, क्योंकि कोई प्रीवियस क्वार्टर नहीं था. तो दिसंबर में जो आप कैश पेमेंट करोगे, जो दिसंबर की कैश पेमेंट होगी, वही आपको जनवरी और फरवरी में करनी होगी. मार्च के अंदर आपको अपना बैलेंस करना पड़ेगा. उसके बाद आप उसमें नेक्स्ट मंथ से फिक्स सम मेथड चले जाओगे. अब ये जो आपकी जो इशू है कि मैं स्विच कर सकता हूं नहीं कर सकता हूं, 1 महीना नॉर्मल, 1 महीना फिक्स सम मेथड, उसके लिए अभी प्रोविजन में या फिर प्रोसीजर के अंदर मेरे को अभी क्लैरिटी नहीं है. लेट अस वेट कि हाउ द डिपार्टमेंट इज ब्रिंगिंग, वेदर वो साइमल्टेनियसली हो जाएगा, वंस पूरे साल के लिए मुझे सिलेक्ट करना है या क्वार्टर के लिए मुझे सिलेक्ट करना है, वो कैसे करना है, इट इज येट टू बी क्लैरिफाइड. But there should be an option, but again I have said we are awaiting clarity on this. इसके लिए एक सेक्शन में कहीं पे नहीं लिखा है, रूल में कहीं कुछ नहीं लिखा हुआ है, so I cannot comment on this कि क्या मैं स्विच कर सकता हूँ नहीं कर सकता हूँ. एक बारी का ऑप्शन तो आएगा, उसके बाद स्विच कितनी बारी कर सकता हूँ, दैट वी हैव टू सी. सर आई डोंट थिंक सो, बट डिपार्टमेंट को शायद पता नहीं, नहीं 35% तो पता चल जाएगा. So once you have selected fixed sum method, then going for self-assessment method will not be applicable.
So friends, we have taken queries till now. If you still have any query, you can ask your query. सर एक बार ये आपके मुंह से सुनना चाहते हैं स्कीम का नाम, तो आपको बताना पड़ेगा.
QRMP scheme is Q represent quarterly, R return, quarterly return, M is for monthly, P is for payment. Quarterly return, monthly payment. क्वार्टर में रिटर्न फाइल करो, मंथली टैग दे दो. दैट इज द सिंपल फुल फॉर्म ऑफ द स्कीम.
Yes. So friends, still if you have any query, you can ask your query. ये देख चुके हम. Thank you, अनुराग जी. और किसी की कोई क्वेरी है तो आप पूछ सकते हो। वी हैड वेरी गुड सेशन, वेरी इंटरेक्टिव सेशन। आप लोगों की बहुत सारी क्वेरीज थी जो कि तरुण जी ने सारी सोल्व कर दी है। एंड आई थिंक नाउ देर विल लिटिल लेस कंप्लाइंसेस, थोड़ा सा कंप्लाइंस हमारे पास से कम होगा, बिकॉज अभी एटलीस्ट आपको टैक्स पेमेंट के लिए आपको पूरी रिटर्न भरने की पूरी ज़रूरत नहीं होगी, जो कि तरुण जी ने हमें एक्सप्लेन करा है।
We are filing returns by GSTR-1 and GSTR-3B so far. Now GSTR-2 will be required mandate. No, sir, there is no GSTR-2 till date. It is not even required in QRMP scheme. पहले जो आप क्रेडिट मंथ ऑन मंथ 3B में डालते थे, अब उसकी जगह मंथ की जगह क्वार्टर के 3B में डालना है बस, और कोई QRMP में चेंज नहीं आया।
यस सर, एक सेकंड दीजिएगा मुझे।
हाँ जी।
फ्रेंड्स, अगर आप में से किसी और की still you have any query, you can still ask your queries. Tarun ji is still with us and he will revert your queries. We had very excellent and interactive session. आपकी queries देख के भी लग रहा है कि हाँ आप लोग बने हुए थे पूरे टाइम पे, and you are listening to Tarun ji. PPT we will share with you. PPT will be updated in our Telegram channel. Telegram channel पे जाके आप स्टडी कैफे सर्च कीजिएगा, there we will update the PPT. Tarun ji will share the PPT with us and then we will update the PPT in our Telegram channel. सर आई थिंक अभी और कोई क्वेरी नहीं आ रही है। एक क्वेरी आई है पूजा रावत जी की।
If I want to file my returns normally, as I am filing now, my turnover is less than even 2 crore. Yes, QRMP, you have an option to opt. If you do not wish to opt, you will remain in the normal scheme. The only thing will be that once you remain in the normal scheme, you will have to file GSTR-1 on monthly basis by 11th and your GSTR-3B on monthly basis by 20th. वो 22nd और 24th की जो कट ऑफ डेट थी, that will not be applicable.
सर ये आगे भी कह रहे कि इफ शी डू नॉट वांट टू चूज द क्यूआरएमपी ऑप्शन, तो कोई ऑप्शन है इनके पास?
हाँ, वो इट इज योर ऑप्शन। क्यूआरएमपी जो चूज करेगा वो स्कीम में जाएगा, अदरवाइज वो नॉर्मल में रहेगा। नॉर्मल में उसकी ड्यू डेट 20 हो जाएगी, 1 की 11 हो जाएगी।
ठीक है। सुखिंदर जी का दोबारा शायद आपसे क्वेश्चन है।
सर ने बहुत, जिसे बोलते हैं ना, माइन्यूट पॉइंट उठाया है। इट इज सेइंग कि 35% या तो क्लियरली मेरे क्रेडिट लेजर में हो या क्लियरली कैश लेजर में हो। सर आई डोंट थिंक सो आई शुड बी इंटरप्रेटिंग इट कि दोनों जगह पे हो, मतलब दोनों में से किसी एक जगह पे इंटायरली हो। So even if I club these two and the amount is lying over there, it is sufficient compliance. In this case, I will read or as and. I will not go for the literal interpretation. I will go for the jurisprudence interpretation, which says that we have to read or as and. So if my amount is available in any of the ledger, then I should be available. Again, sir, GST है. I already said I am also a student. It might be possible. और का मतलब सुप्रीम कोर्ट कल को और ही बोल दे. So nobody is an expert in this subject.
सही कह रहे सर आप। So once it will be live, then also we will come to know that कि क्रेडिट और कैश दोनों में से कोई ले सकते हैं या फिर दोनों को ही ले सकते हैं। So let's wait for the some time when the scheme will be actually live, then we will actually know कि exactly क्या कहना चाह रहे हैं। थैंक यू सुखिंदर जी एंड थैंक्स फॉर योर क्वेरीज। आपकी क्वेरीज काफ़ी डिटेल्ड में थी एंड हैड वेरी गुड क्वेरीज।
सर मेरे को लग रहा है मैंने सर का सुबह फोन नहीं उठाया।
नहीं नहीं सर, और किसी की क्वेरीज है तो फ्रेंड्स यू कैन आस्क। पीपीटी के लिए ऑलरेडी इन्फॉर्म, विल बी अपडेटेड इन आवर टेलीग्राम चैनल। टेलीग्राम पे जाके जस्ट सर्च स्टडी कैफे इफ यू डू नॉट नो। Link of the Telegram channel also will be updated in this description. Tomorrow there is a session on Tele, and now we will keep doing webinars on weekly basis. So thanks a lot to all of you, and special thanks to Tarun ji for accepting invite. And Tarun ji is always ready to come कभी भी ऐसा नहीं हुआ कि तरुण जी ने कहा कि मैं बिजी हूँ, मैं नहीं आ पाऊंगा, या फिर आई हैव सम वर्क. सो हेड्स ऑफ टू यू, Tarun ji, to manage your office work as well as you are always ready to assist us whenever we need your help. You are ready to come. सर किशोर जी आपका नंबर मांग रहे हैं, सो इफ यू वुड लाइक टू शेयर.
So I will. Where should I write?
आप कमेंट में डाल दीजिए. आप यू कैन सी द कमेंट
Just.
और आई विल मेंशन. अशोक जी, अगर आपकी क्वेरी रह गई तो प्लीज राइट इट अगेन. सॉरी मैंने अगर ऊपर से मिस कर दी है तो. आई थिंक ये क्वेरी है.
Sir, you should ideally you should claim your credit on the basis of GSTR-2A only. तो जिस दिन आप रिटर्न फाइल कर रहे हो उस दिन का आप 2A डाउनलोड करो, उस पे 10% मार्कअप कर दीजिए, फिर 10% मार्कअप के बाद जो फिगर आ रही है और ITC एज पर योर बुक्स ऑफ अकाउंट विच एवर इज लोअर दैट शुड बी द क्रेडिट दैट यू शुड टेक. सो टू बी फॉर मी इज ओनली अ स्टेटमेंट. जहां पे मुझे कंफर्ट लगता है मैं कम क्रेडिट ले लूं, उस चीजों के लिए टू बी इज गुड. बट वेयर आई थिंक माई क्लाइंट नीड्स क्रेडिट, उसको सरप्लस क्रेडिट चाहिए, देन आई थिंक 2A इज द बेटर ऑप्शन, क्योंकि वो मेरे को एक तो 10% इन्फ्लेट करके देता है, प्लस वो रियल टाइम में अगर किसी ने अपनी रिटर्न 15th को फाइल करी है, 16th को फाइल करी है, वो सारे क्रेडिट्स भी मेरे 2A में रिफ्लेक्ट कर रहे होंगे. In the place of invoice number, we have entered tally reference number, that is sale voucher number in GSTR1. We have changed that in the current year, but is it necessary to? सर ये आपकी गलती नहीं है, ये हमारे स्टाफ ने भी स्टार्टिंग के 2 साल में बहुत जगह बहुत क्लाइंट्स के अंदर किया था कि क्लाइंट का जो वो था, क्लाइंट से बुक आ रही है, जो टैली आ रही है, उसके अंदर डाटा आ रहा है, उसमें इनवॉइस नंबर उन्होंने कहीं और डाला हुआ है, और जो ऑटोमेटिक रेफरेंस है वो जी इनवॉइस नंबर उठा रहा था. तो टेक्निकली यू शुड अमेंड ऑल द इनवॉइसेस इन विच देयर इज अ मिस्टेक, जहां पे उसने रेफरेंस नंबर को उठा लिया है इनवॉइस नंबर. सो इट इज नॉट, आई विल नॉट डिनाई एंड शाई अवे दैट हमारे ऑफिस में नहीं हुआ, पहले 2 साल बहुत सारे क्लाइंट्स में हुआ. तो इट इज बेटर टू करेक्ट इट इफ यू हैव ऑलरेडी आइडेंटिफाइड द मिस्टेक.
So Tarun ji, shall we wind up the session?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thanks a lot, sir, for your time, and thank you all the participants for patiently hearing and asking your queries. We will come back for new webinars. We will share the information with you soon. Thank you very much.